Michigan State gets a commit from who I think is a very underrated prospect. Also, Kaden Strayhorn, he commits to Michigan. We're going to comment on that. And then speedy 2025 wide receiver commit, Charles Taplin. You got that right. He joins the show. Let's go.
You are Locked On Spartans, your daily podcast on the Michigan State Spartans, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Today's episode of Locked On Spartans is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more as playoffs wind down and the sports stop sporting like we want them to. But hey, this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost of a bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone every day all summer long. Just visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and get started. Spartan friends, Spartan family, Locked On Spartans listeners, thank you all so much for tuning in to Locked On Spartans. Your team in green and white 3 days a week in June and July. But hey, once August gets back in our lives, 5 days a week from that point on. Please rate, review, subscribe, do whatever makes you happy. And if that includes commenting below on YouTube, let us know what you think about Michigan State's recruiting so far or any questions. We have a mailbag episode or two coming up in the future. LockedOnSpartans@gmail.com. Thank you all, too, for being patient with this show. This is a little bit delayed. Maybe you can still hear it in my voice. It's a little gunky, is what we'll say. It's insane how humbling a 9-month-old cold can do, what it can do to the immune system of a grown man. So here we are. Sorry if my voice sounds a little weird, but if you're watching on YouTube, it's still the same underwhelming face that you always see. So that hasn't changed. It's just audio that might be a little different. Nevertheless, here we go into the show. George Mullins, 2025 cornerback prospect out of Florida. He visits Michigan State over the weekend. Prior to that, he visits Toledo. Prior to that, he visits Oregon State. But hey, it was the last weekend that really got him smiling because he commits to Jonathan Smith and the Spartans for the first corner commit of the 2025 class. And really, there hasn't been a lot of secondary even in last class too. It was just Justin Denson. He profiles as more of a safety. So building up that secondary recruiting here in East Lansing. 6'2", 170-pound corner from the great state of Florida. Just like we said, he officially visited Oregon State and Toledo. He also held offers from Mississippi State, West Virginia, South Florida, Central Florida. 24/7 Sports Composite has him as the number 62 ranked overall cornerback in the country and the number 79 kid in the state of Florida. And you're probably thinking, oh, great, a kid that's outside the top 50 in his position group. Awesome. He's pretty much number 80 in his entire state. Let me guess, Matt, you're going to talk about how he's a diamond in the rough and how you actually like him a lot and how he's underrated. Oh, there you go again. Well, yes, you would be correct because, guys, I love this kid's film. I do not know why he's rated this low. Maybe it's because he plays at South Sumter High School in Florida. All right, that is in the second lowest division in Florida as far as like enrollment goes. Okay, they're actually a really good team. They had a pretty good playoff run last year, lost to number 1 in the state, Cocoa, last year. So that is a solid squad they have down there. It's just, on the lower rung of Florida high school football. Also, kid is in Bushnell, Florida. I encourage you to Google Maps that one really quick. It's not in the middle of nowhere. Like, it's not a barren wasteland. They do have a Walmart in their city, but it's not necessarily around a lot of busy cities. So maybe he's flying under the radar. Not a lot of exposure. Nevertheless, do you know where there is exposure? The internet with highlight films. And when you watch this kid's highlight film, my goodness gracious, try to find a kid in the secondary that can anticipate where a ball is going quicker than Mr. Mullins can. He knows that a screen pass is happening before the wide receiver on the offensive side of the ball even can digest what is happening. I got a feeling this kid is a film junkie during the week. He is so good at reading the eyes, reading the formations, reading what is going on the offense. Very oftentimes, intercepting the ball, a little pass breakup action. So, yes, I know, guys, middling 3-star. Oh, whoop-de-doo, that's all we have in this class. But, man, I would keep your eye on George Mullins. I think that there is a lot of stock that can get even higher once he comes to East Lansing. So just like we said, not a lot of secondary pieces in the last 2 classes, just Justin Denson last year. We have George Mullins in this one. They also got Jeremiah Hughes from LSU, the true freshman last year, as a cornerback. So just still building that young nucleus in the secondary there. So Who else was on campus over the weekend? There was only 4 other visitors. It was a light weekend for Michigan State. We're going to get into why they are low numbers here in the next segment. Yes, we are going to talk about the Kaden Strayhorn commitment. We're going to tie those two together, so just wait for the second segment for more on that. But the other 4 visitors this last weekend here in East Lansing, Justin Bell. Hard to miss this kid if you're on campus. 6'8", 290-pound offensive tackle from Macomb, Dakota. And guys, yes, another 3-star. He actually ranks outside of the top 1,000 per the 24/7 Sports Composite. But let's have a little lesson in recruiting offensive linemen, specifically under Jim Mullins, the offensive line coach here at Michigan State. Because if this guy sees a player that he likes, he's going to go get him. He's going to turn him into a really solid player more than likely. Over at Oregon State, all right, last year and in 2021, that's 2 units in the last 3 years, they cracked the top 12 semifinalists of the Joe Moore Award. That is for the best offensive line in the country, okay? Now let's talk about the tackles for those 2 units that were amongst the best offensive lines in the country. The tackles on those units were all ranked outside of the top 800 when they were recruits. The highest guy, Joshua Gray, he was somewhere in the middle 800s. The other 2 guys, well, it's a guy that just heard his name in the NFL draft in a top 20 pick, Talise Fuaga. He was like ranked 1600 or something like that. He wasn't even on a radar. But here he is. Not just turns him into a tackle on a Joe Moore semifinal team, but a top 20 draft pick, just like we said. And the other guy, Brandon Kipper. This is another guy out of the state of Idaho, I believe, that, you know what? I'm not even ranked in the top 1,000 either, but he turned him into a great tackle. Also signed on with the Baltimore Ravens as an undrafted free agent. But yes, guys, you can find diamonds in the rough on the offensive line. It happens at that position more than any other position. So if Jim Mullins looks at 6'8", 290-pound Justin Bell and says, yeah, I would like to take a crack at getting him and developing him, we're going to trust Jim Mullins here on this one. And I get it. We did this whole thing the last coaching staff with the offensive line coach, Coach Cap. We built him up, said he's one of the best offensive line coaches in the country. And then left a lot to be desired here in East Lansing. Let's just call a spade here. But you actually see it. There is a track record. There's a history, whatever you want to call it, with Jim Mullins. And there it lies right there. If there's a guy that he likes, hey, we're going to trust him right there. The other guys, the other 3 guys, Aiden West. He is a cornerback, 6-foot corner out of Maryland. And right now he's crystal ball on 24/7 Sports to go to Virginia. We're going to keep an eye on that. Another corner visited too, Van Zale Hinton. I mean, you talk about tape, just like we talked about with George Mullins earlier. Van Zale is a vicious player. Like this kid hits like a heat-seeking missile. He also plays on the offensive side of the ball for his high school, of course. And man, they just pop him out on 0 screens and just give him the ball and just run free like a deer in the wilderness, young man. He is fast. He is vicious. However, right now, maybe keep your hopes down because within the last 12 hours, he tweeted a picture of him in his Vanderbilt jersey because he is a Vanderbilt verbal commit right now. And he also wrote, "We good over here on West End." So basically saying, MSU did not do enough to flip me, at least at this very moment. So that's the Van Zale Hinton news right there. Also, guys, Bryson Williams, Orchard Lake St. Mary kid. That's right. We're going for a 3rd Orchard Lake St. Mary kid. 6'2", 200-pound athlete. By every sense of the definition, he could play running back. He could play receiver. Basically, you know what? If you get his commitment, you'll figure out where to put him on the field later on. Big-bodied. I mean, he already has the profile of what they like at running back. That 6'2", 200 pounds. You see that kind of frame with Nate Carter, with K-Ron Lynch-Adams, the transfer running back they got from UMass. So, hey, Bryson Williams, if you want to come on by and see where we can throw you on the field, by all means, join your teammates. Charles White, Jaden Savory, come to East Lansing. Let's make the Orchard Lake St. Mary's pipeline a reality here. So there we have it. Those were the visitors this weekend. And before we get into the Kaden Strayhorn stuff, how this is a lesson in recruiting, both just nationally and with Jonathan Smith specifically, have to shout out friend of the program, Heath Baldwin. He is a track and field athlete at Michigan State. Had him on the show a few weeks ago. He didn't just qualify for the Paris Olympics for Team USA. He won the trials in the decathlon. So huge ups to him. He was a great kid when we had him on the show. Super down to earth, super humble. We will try to get him on this show before Paris, but if he doesn't have time because he wants to prepare for the Olympics or something like that, yeah, and in all seriousness, that's wildly understandable. So, yes, huge congrats to Heath Baldwin representing Michigan State and Team USA in Paris coming up in the Olympics. Folks, like we said, we will be back talking more recruiting, but first, you need to talk your ears off about FanDuel Sportsbook. Now, I love sports. I love them so much. I never want them to stop, but yeah, as the playoffs wind down and we get fewer games and the sports aren't sporting like we want them to, it gets a little blue in the summer, but FanDuel keeps me going whenever I want. All I have to do is open the app and dream up bets anytime that I am in the mood, which, well, if you've seen my account, is quite often. And this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone, every day, all summer long, whether it's Copa America. Hey, if you like Team USA, 14-1 over at FanDuel right now, or one of my favorite events of the year, I will be there Saturday, the Rocket Mortgage Classic. Hey, let him cook. Minwoo Lee, 20-1 right now, or Akshay Bhatia, 22-1, like both of those guys in the Rocket Mortgage Classic over at FanDuel. So head over to FanDuel.com/locked-on and make the most out of your summer. It's FanDuel, official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. All right, back into the mix here. Now, guys, over the weekend, Kaden Strayhorn, IMG Academy, but obviously grew up in the state of Michigan. He commits to the University of Michigan, three-star interior offensive lineman. And, of course, we don't talk about Michigan recruiting a lot on this show, but the last name, Strayhorn. Hey, that's the son of former player and current color commentator for Michigan State Sports Radio, Jason Strayhorn. My goodness gracious. And we've gotten comments on this show, not a ton, but just a few, like, hey, what's going on with this? Why isn't Michigan State recruiting him? Is he going to go to Michigan? We stayed away from commenting on it for the most part, but now that he's committed, now that it's happened, well, you know what? Let's riff on this a little bit here. And I think we're going to be measured, not to break my own hand, patting myself on the back, but we're not going to say anything outlandish, salacious. I think it's all going to be in bounds here. I'll let you guys be the judge of this ultimately. But yeah, first and foremost, let's just get ahead of this right now. I'm a fan of Jason Strayhorn, guys. Like, I am a big fan of him. What him and George Blaha have done in the booth the last few years, like, just permanently cemented into my head some of the great calls that they have had. So, look, much love to Strayhorn, the family. They got to do what's best for them. Obviously, we're going to get into all that here in a little bit. But, yeah, I don't want to make this like a war of worlds or anything, or even lamer, a war of podcasts, because, yeah, Jason Strayhorn, Cedric Irvin, they have This Is Sparta podcast over there. I invite you to go see what they have to say about this whole thing. I'm sure it's going to be a lot more insightful than what I got to say about it because, well, it's his kid at the end of the day. So, yes, I just want to just get that out there right now. Not trying to push any buttons or anything, but hey, let's have a chat about it. So, the sentence, son of former player and team's color commentator commits to rival school. Yeah, like point blank period. Like on the surface, yes, that is weird, is the word I'll use. It's unusual. I mean, especially with the college sports that we all grew up to know and love. The tradition, the rivalry is so heated, especially in the state. How could this even happen? Like, on the surface, that is unusual. It's a little jarring to read, I'm sure, for a lot of people out there. Anyone with a name attached to a school or a program, just like Strayhorn to Michigan State, commits to its rival, well, that's a little off-putting, I would say. You know what? To borrow another example from the school down the road, it's kind of like when Lloyd Carr's grandson commits to Notre Dame as a five-star quarterback. You read the headline, you're like, whoa, what? Well, hold up. That's a little bizarre. What happened there? But again, this is all just on the surface. On the surface, is this upsetting that you let a really good three-star interior offensive lineman go to not just another school as a legacy commit, but your rival? Well, of course it is. Of course it's a little upsetting on the surface, especially when you tie in Avery Gatch. That's another legacy recruit. He goes to Michigan too. That's two legacies for Michigan State that are going to Michigan. Two kids that are, by all measures, good football players. So is it upsetting to miss on in-state kids? Of course. To your rival? Of course. The fact that they're legacy kids? Well, my goodness gracious, on the surface, that is upsetting. However, guys, here we are. This is all on the surface, but we just don't do on the surface over here at Locked On Spartans. No. We go deeper, and there's two reasons that I'm not like kicking and screaming over this or having a meltdown or saying, oh, they're traitors. How could you? That's horrible parenting. Like, no, it's by all accounts, it seems like, pretty sound parenting. Just, encouraging your kid to go wherever makes him happy. Sure, as much as it makes me sick to my stomach, at the end of the day, that's what you got to do. But anyway, there are two things I want to hit on right here as it relates to this. The first one, guys, this is often the case with recruiting. And what I mean by that is recruiting at this level, a lot of it is predicated on 2+ year relationships, especially if you're a 4-star or a 5-star. And Kaden has been somewhere in the middle of 3 and 4-star. Point blank, good player. We're not going to have the debate over if he's overrated, underrated. He's a good player. If you are someone in his position, okay, a lot of the times this is predicated on 2-year relationships. We could also look in-house to prove that point as being true. All right, Michigan State just got a commit from Drew Nichols out of California. That's because he had a relationship with Jim Maholchek dating back to the Oregon State days. Now, let's look at a few other recruits that have visited campus not too long ago. Guys like Houston Torres from Hawaii. This kid from Honolulu didn't get on a jet to fly over to Michigan State for no good reason, just because he likes crunchies or he's heard great things about the Red Cedar River. No, he's had a relationship with Jim Maholchek from very early on in his high school career. Darius Afalava out of Utah. Oregon State was one of his first offers when he was a junior in high school. Of course, it's not so much Oregon State's attached to it, but Jim Maholchek. So even the offensive lineman, interior offensive lineman, if you want to be specific, they're all on 2+ year relationships. This is how it happens with recruiting. Of course, that's not the case with everything, but when you're at the upper level of 5-star, 4-star, high 3-star, a lot of the times you need to cement a relationship early on in the career, somewhere along the lines of like sophomore or junior year. Now, the second thing that stuck out is I think that this is a lesson of how Jonathan Smith operates. Now, there was a quote given to Wolverines Wire that, caused a stir on the internet. So we're going to read that right now. Again, this is Wolverines Wire. Michigan State, obviously, they're my first offer, but since this new coaching change they've been very scared to recruit me because of certain offers that I have, like Georgia and Miami, stuff like that. They feel like they can't compete to get me. So the way that they are is like, if they feel like they can't compete, then why try at all? Sorry, that was me stumbling over my words, not Kaden. I feel like it's kind of silly, but that's how it is with them. And everyone's been saying, why hasn't he scheduled his official visit here? And that's why. They feel like they can't compete to get me, so that way, well, why compete at all? Now, look, I'm not going to take the bait here. I'm not going to, do outrage radio or anything like that. But look, I'm not going to get caught up in the whole he said, she said. Did he really have an offer from this new staff? Did he not? Depends who you talk to. Quite frankly, that's not the point that we're trying to make here, so we'll move it along. I want to focus on the they are scared to recruit me part. Because I think, is Michigan State and Jonathan Smith scared to recruit a kid? Or is it more so just smart? Is Jonathan Smith, Jim Maholchek, the whole staff, are they showing cowardice? Or are they just showing how they do things around here? And there are some numbers that I want to point out here because, look, I don't think Michigan State thought they were in the running. I think that portion is true. But is it smart to go out and recruit a kid against Georgia, against Texas, Miami, Michigan, when you already know you're so far behind the 8 ball? Is it smart to burn up resources, some of your official visit allotments, because there is a certain number each program can have per calendar year of official visits? Is it smart to burn one up on a kid that you don't think you're going to get, or is it just smart to focus on kids that you know you have a better shot of getting here? Let's go through some numbers. Everyone break out your notepad, your pens, your pencils, whatever it is, because June official visits under Jonathan Smith at Michigan State so far. All right, guys. They had 27 official visits so far. 10 of those were commits or guys that eventually did commit. So 10 out of the 27 commits. That number is going to grow here in the next few weeks too, so stay tuned for that. Let's go over to Oregon State. 2023, his last recruiting class at Oregon State. 27 June official visits. 14 of them were commits or eventually committed. That is more than half the kids visiting eventually committed. 2022 at Oregon State, the year before, they had 28 visits on campus. 11 of them commits or eventual commits from those visits. Now, let's juxtapose that from Mel Tucker, his last class over here in 2023. 38 official visits in the month of June. Would you like to fetch a guess how many were commits or eventually committed? That number is just 7. All right, that was a spray and pray strategy. All right, we're going to invite a bunch of 4-stars on here. We're going to invite a bunch of top-end kids on here, and we're going to just pray. You know what? That a lot of these hit. And like some of them obviously did. Of those 7 commits, those are some good commits that you got. But what Jonathan Smith is showing is that he uses resources, his time, his official visits on kids that he knows he has a good chance of getting. The Mel Tucker Jr. of 2023 going 7 for 38. Whew, I don't know. I'd much rather go 10 for 27, just like Jonathan Smith is so far this year. Again, that number is going to grow. Or last year at Oregon State, 14 for 27. Is it scared? Or is it just putting the time and resources and using your allotment of official visits wisely? Guys, I think it's the latter. Sure, I'm not going to, slight Kaden for maybe feeling like that he was not appreciated or loved by Michigan State. And this has got to be a little strange for the kid too, because, well, his dad's a Michigan State legend by all accounts. David Harns over at Spartans Illustrated, he actually interviewed both Jason and Kaden about this commitment. And they said that, hey, when Kaden was a kid, the plan was for him to play at Michigan State, eventually take over his dad's job in the booth. But, things happen in life, of course. So, yes, I'm sure there is a little bit of hurt there that maybe this staff didn't pursue him as hard as he wanted him to. But I think they just saw what else is going on out there, saw they're behind the 8 ball and said, you know what? We're going to tighten things up in June. We're going to just focus on kids that we think we can get. So I don't see it as scared. I just see it as smart with the resources and just how Jonathan Smith has done things, not just at Michigan State, but also in his history at Oregon State. So whether it's a byproduct of recruiting, relationships, Smith's strategy, etc., it's just another lesson of recruiting and where Smith stands and his strategy. All right, guys, coming up, a chat with Charles Taplin, 2025 wide receiver commit. Now, I will say this really quick. There was one question I had about him getting to know Jaylen Brown, another Texas wide receiver commit from last year's class. He did not know who Jaylen Brown was, and that's on me because Jaylen Brown wasn't on campus yet when he did his official visit. They didn't even get to meet face-to-face. So if you hear that question and you hear him say, I don't know who that is, that's why. They have not met in person yet. Jaylen Brown actually got on campus a few days after Charles Taplin did his official visit a few weeks ago. So just want to preface that. Just right off the top there. All right, so let's get to that chat here to hot segment. But first, you need to talk your ears off about eBay Motors. Folks, passion, drive, and patience. That is what brings home the win with your ride or die. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. We're talking superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and so much more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you will always find exactly what you are looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time, or it's your money back. Because, well, with eBay Motors, you are burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home the huge win. So keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. It is not easy to get a hold of Charles Taplin. Well, that's because he's a blur on every screen and football field. But here he is sitting down, the speedster wide receiver out of Texas, joining us. Charles Taplin, how on earth are we doing today, man?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Sensational. Absolutely sensational. Well, by and large, because, hey, you are part of this class coming up. Just point blank, right off the top, you're less than a week removed from your commitment. What is the best part about being committed to Michigan State so far?
Just knowing that I'm going to be taken care of in the future.
There we go. Easy as that. With Courtney Hawkins, Cordell Grundy, and we're going to get to those guys here in a little bit. But let's just take it from step one, the official visit. I'm just fascinated to know what it's like from a recruit's point of view. So let's take it from the beginning. What do you do when you get on campus down to the end? Just give us a little walkthrough if you don't mind.
It was amazing. First of all, they treated me with amazing hospitality. They greeted me at the hotel with about half of the staff. And then I woke up in the morning. I came on campus. It was even better. I met, a lot of coaches. They treated me like I was one of them already.
There we go. And so what were the activities? Because I know that other weekends they've done some mini golf. They've done some bowling. Away from the football field, what were you guys doing in East Lansing this week? Or last week,
Yeah, we did some bowling. We did some putt golf with the coaches, and then with the players, we went go-kart racing, and we went like in one of those rage rooms where you just like break all the glass and stuff.
Ooh,
Yeah, it was
nice.
fun.
I could have used that during last football season, but better things are to come here in East Lansing. We're here to talk about the future. What was the first thing to go in the rage room for you, though? I got to know. Just what were you absolutely obliterating in there?
Oh, I was obliterating like I think it was a beer glass, or it was like some glass. Yeah, I just had to hit it with a bat.
And the best mini golfer last weekend was who? Hit us.
Oh, it was definitely me.
There we go. Let's go.
Yeah.
Going low out there. Tiger Woods style. That's what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously, you got to meet a lot of the coaches. Just like you said, about half the staff was there at the hotel. In your Spartans Illustrated piece, you talk about the family atmosphere. You talk about Courtney Hawkins. You talked about Cordell Grundy. What about those two guys gives it that special atmosphere at Michigan State?
I mean, it was amazing. I already met him on the phone, and when I came and met him in person, it was even better. Like, I already had the relationship with him. I can tell that they truly care, and they like want to take care of me, and they want to get me to where I need to be.
And you're not the only commit to bring up some grad assistants this year, which is kind of new here at Michigan State. Normally we don't hear a lot about the grad assistants, but it feels like they've had a strong connection with a lot of commits like yourself. Cordell Grundy, we're gonna pull his name out right now. What was his role during the whole official visit, and what were you doing with him last weekend?
He was the one that picked me up from the airport. Really, like, he was the one that was like mostly like with the family, and I met his wife. It was amazing. I got
Gotcha. So family meet and greets and everything. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I love that. There we go. And so as far as the other visitors, who did you get to like bond with the most, or was it, the host that you guys were with there? And who was hosting you anyway? I forgot about that.
Oh, it was dang.
I know, I should have wrote this down. This is on me. Yeah.
But it was a couple receivers that hosted me, such as the leading receiver from last season, number 83.
Montorie Foster? Yeah.
Yeah. Foster hosted me. Smith hosted me.
Okay.
Yeah, it was some more people.
Who was like the leader amongst the players that were already there? Was it Montorie Foster? Was he the top guy showing you around, or was there even someone from a different position group that was kind of the top guy?
I mean, most of them was equal. I hung around with I can't remember his name. I think I wrote down in my notes, but he was like a tall, dark-skinned dude. And then I hung around with another receiver.
And speaking of other receivers, you're not the only receiver in this class right now. We got Braylon Collier out of Sandusky, Ohio. I know you guys didn't visit the same weekend, but have you guys been able to talk or text or anything whatsoever?
Yeah, Coach Grundy FaceTime us for us to meet each other. I did a group FaceTime to meet each other. It was cool.
There we go. And how about the quarterbacks? Were you able to get in touch with them or Leo Hannon at all?
I met Leo at the visit, actually.
Perfect. There we go. Is catching footballs from him going to work out in the future? That's going to go okay?
Yes, sir.
There we go. And so when it comes to last weekend, the official visit, what was the most impactful moment for you? Like, when did you realize, like, okay, I'm making my commitment here to Michigan State?
I mean, it really was just the meeting with, like, the receivers coach. And I was just seeing his track record, like how he got receivers to the league, and he knows what he's doing. He's done it multiple times. And just what they were saying, like, I know that I'll get developed as a player on and off the field.
And let's talk about the kind of player you are right now. Point blank, how would you describe your game ahead of your senior season in high school?
I would say that I'm just an endless motor. I would say that I'm a workhorse. I'm willing to do whatever it takes for my team. I'm a speedy receiver. I got catch radius, and I just know the game, and I know how to run routes. And I'm a well-rounded receiver.
So the speed is not to be mistaken on the field. Also, I mean, track and field, you lighten it up down there at Texas in 5A. Like, that's not small potatoes. That's pretty impressive. So you got the speed. What do you think the second best part of your game is, though, right now?
I would say, like, just being coachable, for real.
Gotcha. And so down in Texas, of course, you're the second straight year where there's a Texas wide receiver in this class. Jalen Brown being in last year's class. Did you get to connect with him at all? Because Texas is a big state. I think you're still like a few hour drives away, so it's not like you guys are neighbors by any means. But did you get to connect with him in any way?
Jalen Brown?
Yeah.
No, I didn't. I didn't get a chance to connect with him.
Gotcha. And so what is it that makes Texas high school football so much different than the rest of the country, you think?
It's just real competitive, and physical. Everybody wants it.
And those are two things you do well. But when did you realize that not just, Division I was going to be in your sights, but playing at a Power 4 level? Was it last year? Was it even before that? Or when did you realize that a school like Michigan State could be in your future?
Honestly, it was about last year. At first, I was pursuing basketball, and then football. It took a turn to football once I started getting noticed, and I started getting better at it.
What's the best track event for you? Because obviously, you shine a little bit. You're on the relay team. You're in the 400. You do some 200 work, if I'm not mistaken. What's the best event that you run down there?
The 400. Yeah,
that's impossible. I remember back in high school when I was even somewhat in shape. Like I just felt like healing over immediately after the 400. That's got to be. Is that the hardest event you think to run in track, or is there another one that's even harder in your opinion?
Oh, I think it's either the 400 or the 800 that's the hardest.
800 I wouldn't even know because I wouldn't even try it. That's how difficult that looks. That's ridiculous, but good for you. That's what I'm talking about. And what are some goals that you have set out for your senior year, even outside the football field? It could be football, it could be elsewhere. Like, what are some goals that you have ahead of your senior year down at Red Oaks?
First to enroll early, so I can get at Michigan State as soon as possible, so I get a head start. And for my senior season, just to finish it off great, be very consistent and coachable.
And when it comes to enrolling early, is that something that you bring up to the staff? Does the staff bring that up to you, or how does that decision start getting made?
Oh, it's first brings up to me. I want to enroll early, graduate early, and get up there as soon as possible.
Gotcha. Is that is that something that you think they'd like to talk about with every commit? Is that an emphasis, or is it kind of like a case-by-case basis, you think?
It's just a case-by-case basis. It depends if you want to get up there early or you want to wait.
There we go. And so right before, coming to Michigan State, obviously you're looking to early enroll. What are some things that you're looking forward to the most before stepping foot in East Lansing for your official college career here?
Really just getting coached by Coach Hawkins and Coach Grundy. That's really
Simple
what I'm looking
that.
forward to. Yes, sir.
Two of the best. There we go. Well, Charles, this has been a sensational chat. Welcome to Michigan State. We're thrilled to have you as part of this class. Obviously, a lot of speed coming all over the field in this class so far. You are certainly no exception. Anyone that you want to shout out here before we let you go and enjoy the rest of your week?
I'll first give thanks to God. I wouldn't be here without him. And I'll give thanks to my family and my friends and my coaches.
That's absolutely sensational. Charles, thank you so much for your time. Thanks for all your insight. Definitely good luck next year. But, hey, we are also looking forward to what's to come the year after that when you step foot in East Lansing. But, folks, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. We will be back later on this week. We're going to talk to another Charles of this class, linebacker Charles White, in the next episode. But until then, take care of yourselves. Have a great week. Love you all. Go Green.